Hello people of the future and welcome to Let's Make a Trading Card Game. The series is back and I thought I would make it more conversational, more informal, without any scripts, and focus on one specific topic on every video, since if you've watched the last video that we've released, you'll know that we have announced our Kickstarter campaign for Multiverse Cosmic Conquest, which will start on September 15th, 2017, and then on October 15th, if everything goes as planned, which it should. We decided to bring back the Let's Make a Trading Card Game series, and it will be weekly, coming out on Saturdays every week. And even after the Kickstarter, it will continue to come out, maybe not weekly, but quite regularly up until the game is released. Anyway, before I get into our topic for today, which I thought it could be complexity in trading card games and dealing with complexity, as well as the barrier of entry for new players in trading card games, I have to update you on Multiverse Cosmic Conquest, but so much time has passed since the last episode that a lot of things have been going on. So I won't go into detail, not in this episode anyway, but nevertheless, let's mention everything that we've been working on. So on the art side, I've created all of the concept art for the races in the base set, at least, of Multiverse Cosmic Conquest. Most of the vehicles, some of the architecture. I've contacted the artists for the base set of Multiverse Cosmic Conquest, and they've started to work on some of the artwork for the Arsenal cards. And right now you should be seeing some of the artwork popping up onto the screen. Just a few screenshots. On the Octagon / playtesting side, we've been continuing to playtest all this time, iterating periodically, although the iterations, of course, are much smaller than before because the changes are smaller. So right now the changes to the cards are maybe an adjustment to the power stat or the health stat, or the cost of the card, or maybe changing the effect slightly compared to before, where, if you remember, in the previous episodes of this series, I had to redesign the entire card set. Thankfully, I don't have to do that anymore. The game is pretty stable. The rules are stable. We've created a tutorial series on how to play Multiverse Cosmic Conquest, which, if you haven't watched, I encourage you to watch it. I am pretty proud of it. I really like how it ended out. Because if you've just been watching the Let's Make a Trading Card Game series, you have an idea on the rules of the game, but they haven't been explained from top to bottom. Plus, they've always been changing in these videos, so that video series kind of explains all of the rules and in a logical progression and in small chunks that are easy to digest. We've also updated the rulebook, made it all fancy, and added a section on multiplayer games, both battle royales and team games, as well as just generally made it more functional and better looking. So on the programming side of things, on the tech side of things, we've been hard at work at creating the high-level design for Multiverse Cosmic Conquest Online. And the main reason for that, for why we're doing it now rather than later, is that in order to gauge how much money you need to raise on your Kickstarter, you first need to understand how much money it will take to create the game. So if the game is online, you need to understand what will go into that program. So aside from all of the logic behind the gameplay, behind the rules and all of the cards, and what you're allowed to do, like play cards on your turn, attach and detach resource, attach and detach cards, move cards, attack things, board things. Then you need to program all of the keywords, all of the mechanics. Aside from all of that, you have to understand how much money and how much effort it will take to create the lobby or the system that connects players to each other once you want to start a game, or the deck builder, or the card collection manager, the store. All of these things that are part of the program, plus the GUI needs to be taken into account as well, because it's not like it's going to pop up by itself. So all of these factors we've considered, and we came up with this figure of $40,000 in order to create a fully functioning Multiverse Cosmic Conquest online, minus all of the taxes that Kickstarter takes and all of the other costs that will go towards creating the artwork for the cards. I'll go into more detail on the programming side of things in a later video, otherwise I'll just talk an hour about the programming of Multiverse Cosmic Conquest Online. Aside from that, I think that pretty much covers everything. So let's get into our topic for today, which is complexity in trading card games. So complexity can come from various different places. It can come from the rules, so the rules can be very complex. In fact, generally speaking, trading card games are very complex in their rules. If we're looking at a spectrum of games from Tetris and Candy Crush on one end, and Dungeons and Dragons and RTSs, real-time strategies, on the other end, and other complex games, yeah, trading card games are pretty up there. Even if the rules by themselves are easy, which, I mean, there can be some trading card games with easy rules, like Hearthstone, for example, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Used to be pretty easy, but now it's way more complex than it used to be. The complexity comes into deck building, and just the fact, the genre itself is complex, because just by the virtue of having so many choices on what to play with, so you have all of these cards that you can choose to build your deck with before you even start playing. So already there's a barrier of entry for new players. If you're a new player and you've never played trading card games, you don't know what this genre is, and you don't know the rules, the best way usually a new player gets to learn about the game is when another player explains the rules, like they give him a deck. So if a person is given a deck, they already don't have to think about deck building. They have a deck, it's already prepared, so you don't have to think about deck building. Of course, that's not something you can rely on, especially if you're a new game. You cannot rely on old players because all of your players are new. So different trading card games tackle this subject differently. Some trading card games use base sets in which all of the cards are simpler and easier to play with. Pokemon used to have base sets, they don't anymore. Magic the Gathering used to have base sets for a long while. In fact, for a while they actually went further with the base set. They made a short series of sets that were extremely simplified. Like, they have 5 colors in the game, they cut 2 colors altogether, they reduced some of the card types. Normally you could play stuff on your opponent's turn. In this version of the game you couldn't. So they simplified the game to such an extent to which it just became something completely different. In fact, the cards in those sets were illegal to be played in the rest of Magic the Gathering. That's how crazy it went. Pokemon used to have base sets, now they don't. That's pretty much it. Maybe some other trading card game has base sets. That kind of helps, but still that doesn't get rid of the deck building aspect of the complexity. Another way of getting newer players into your trading card game is to create pre-constructed decks where you already know that you as the designer know what cards are in the decks. You know that they're not too complex, that you are able to create a tool to teach newer players to learn your game. And in these decks you can put the rules in a simplified manner that allows the players to understand them. That's another tactic. Some more outrageous and radical way of teaching your players on how to play your game is to divide your trading card games into like an easy mode and a hard mode, maybe even a medium mode. So dividing the rules into more categories. You can have the simpler version of the rules for the novices and the harder set of rules for the professionals and the more advanced players. But without changing the cards. So the cards are the same, but the rules change. That's an interesting idea which I don't think is implemented in many trading card games, or any at all. There may be some obscure trading card games that do that. But that's another way you can get around this initial overload of information for the newer players. Of course, in online trading card games, this problem isn't as big. In fact, it isn't a problem at all, because you can create a tutorial that's not a video tutorial, but that's an actual gameplay tutorial that tells you how to play the game. Like in other types of games, like real-time strategies, or I don't know, in most other games, there is either a tutorial level or an intro level, something that explains the basic concepts and the basic mechanics of the game, and from there you can sort of learn by yourself. So we've talked about a friend that can teach you the rules, which maybe is still the best tool to learning a trading card game. The next is base sets. Another tool is different sets of rules, making the rules simpler for newer players. Pre-constructed basic decks that are sort of the training wheels for players before they learn to deck build or even try to deck build. And a full-blown tutorial on an online platform. Another thing you can do in order to lower this complexity barrier for newer players is to divide the complexity throughout the rarities in your set of cards. So if you make the common cards less complex and really simple, really straightforward, they have either no text at all or really simple effects that are easy to understand, and keep the complexity to the rare cards, an average player or a new player will be faced with mostly the simpler cards, and that will help them build their first deck around the simpler cards. And once they start accumulating more and more cards, they have the ability to choose among the complex cards. So that's another tactic that you can use. But of course, keep in mind other things that have to do with rarity, so you don't make I mean, I don't want to talk about rarity. I've talked about rarity in other videos, and I'll probably talk about it again, about the problems with making strong cards rare and how that can create all sorts of that can mess up your game. Anyway, I think I've started rambling. So different trading card games tackle this problem differently, but it is always an issue, because if you make the rules simple and the cards are simple, then the game itself becomes simple and predictable and not as interesting. So if you make the rules simple, you sort of need to compensate by making the cards more elaborate, because usually the cards contradict the rules and they complement the rules. But if you make the rules, if you make the cards too complex, then it becomes really hard to build decks and to play during the game with so many things happening around, so many cards, so many effects happening on at the same time. So from that point of view, the gameplay becomes much more complex, even though the rules by themselves are easy. So you sort of need to balance things out, and there's no real solution to this problem, and it really depends on your trading card game. So Multiverse Cosmic Conquest is going to tackle this issue from all sides at the same time. We already have a video tutorial series that explains and dissects all of the rules for new players. We also are going to release basic decks for new players that are pre-constructed, that people don't have to think about deck building when they start playing. And we have already a base set with pretty simplified cards, especially the commons and uncommons. But that doesn't impede in the variety of different decks that you can build, which I think is really the best of both worlds. And perhaps most importantly, if we reach enough money on our Kickstarter, we will include a tutorial in the online version of Multiverse Cosmic Conquest that will be much more like a real person teaching you how to play a paper trading card game, where it will walk you through the first few games of Multiverse Cosmic Conquest with an already pre-constructed deck, so you're getting an even easier access to this complex game that we have. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep it up.